How's it going, bitches? So, it's been a while. Yeah, kind of missed out quite a bit. So, frankly, today there's two updates, the one from the 7th and the one from today, plus the patch notes from last week and the patches this week. So we got quite a few things to go through, although, to be honest, there's no major, massive updates or anything like that. It's mostly just small patches left, right and centre. So, starting off, you've got the skill capes toggle. Basically, people moaned about the new skill cape look and wanted the old ones back, so that is now a thing. You can toggle it. Simple. There you go. That's really all there is to that. Django's interface has had a new lick of paint, so that looks better now, although I don't know if anyone would actually use it, but there we go, that's a thing too. Solomon stored the companion pet familiar overrides. Your companion pets are lovely little critters, many of which you enjoy taking on your many adventures. And we think you deserve more, blah 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 blah. Much like your legendary pet, any companion pet you own can now be used as an override for your summoned familiar. The familiar will still retain all of its special abilities and combat effectiveness, but look like your beloved companion pets. Note that an overridden familiar will lose its appearance should you enter a PvP area, as you should probably expect. Simply locate the pet you want to use as an override in the pet interface, hit the override familiar button and the bottom of the interface, and that is pretty much it. So your pet will be there forever. So whenever you summon something, it'll look like your pet. Simple as that. Not really a lot to it. Other things, the beta is a thing. It's now including the new death mechanics, so if you haven't seen it yet, you can go over there and have a little gander and try that out. All is going well. The Legacy and EOC mashup feature should be making its way to the live game sometime this month, probably next week or the week after, I expect. And that'll also be in the game. So the next update is another bunch of small things. So bank tabs. The Ninja team have added a long-awaited feature. You can now actually drag your fucking tabs and move them somewhere else in your bank. Okay, the swearing probably wasn't necessary, but that, honestly, should have been a thing a long time ago. But yeah, there you go. You can now move your tabs about and you can mess about with your bank a little bit more. It was nice. Citadel chat. Whilst inside your clan Citadel, you can now choose to display your public chat to all players within the Citadel, so it suddenly becomes a shout rather than just a local area thing. Kind of like clan chat, but just inside the Citadel. Simple as that. It is what it does. It does what it says in a box, no? And last but not least, we've got the JMod toolbox in the BTS. Basically, they add in more tools for the Jagex mod, so they can do some more interesting things when it comes to meetups and events and all that kind of nonsense they do. So, basically, because they now have the new tool and they can make some skilling nodes and some other random goodness, they're going to kind of mess about with it. So, the schedule is going to be pretty much in the Lumpy Crater. And it's going to be from about midday up until 4 o'clock. And it'll keep going on, all in different worlds. All the worlds are here, so if you're interested, you can just have a little gander. You can jump over there and poke people. I dare say it'll be like a world shout or something like that. Same as usual, isn't it? Additionally, there's a 15% discount at the merchandise store until the end of the 16th of April. So if you want to buy some RuneScape-esque kind of looking apparel stuff, then there we go. That is a thing too. So next we have the patch notes, and it's patch notes upon patch notes. So let's get started. So skills and minigame wise, familiars can no longer practice agility on the Heaven Serenity posts. Clan avatars still can because they need to exercise. Quest and achievement wise, Dominion markers can no longer be smuggled into New Varrock, new ninjas. Miscellaneous, players are no longer able to perform higher cost special attacks at a lower cost by switching weapons in PvP. Players will no longer disconnect if they try to recolor a pet with no pet selection. Players who tag creatures they don't have the required slay level to kill will no longer receive loot when those creatures are killed by other players. Nice. That could have been abused. Ninja fixes. The Slayer skill cape will now show the correct icon in the player-owned house cape rack. Some skill cape sailors that have been left out have now been given the correct capes and hair colour. Martin the Master Gardener will now wear the farming skill cape during the bringing home the bacon. Hicton will now wear his correct shirt. Ajat and Ignatius Vulcan now have their hair re-dyed. Ajat is now wearing a trimmed skill cape of attack because he's beastly. The estate agent outfit will now be the correct colour, it's probably a good thing, and Captain Izzy No Beard and the estate agent will now wear the correct skill capes during the quest cutscenes. The circus overlay now uses the minigame HUD, finally. Players can now see their summons and familiars life points in the follower details tab. The sub interface has been added to the player interface to display current active combat buffs. Not sure why that would be needed there. The amulet of zealots has been boosted slightly. Ooh. Interesting. The animations used when catching implants have also been updated. I guess the only interesting thing is the zealots have been boosted. Might be worth testing out. Right, on to the next patch notes. Yeah, keep going. Graphic-wise, the sheathed model of the offhand Drygal rapier with Barrow's die will now display correctly. While the mud pie will no longer force players to use legacy animations, God War's Dungeon Soulstones have been shrunk in size to make their selection outlines appear correctly. Some minor clipping issues whilst chopping ivy with skill capes has been snorted out, and the statue of Arav in the Birth of Heroes guilds have been graphically patched. Now he looks sexy. Moving on to skills and minigames, players can no longer use the Lava Whip spec attack with no movement duel. Fair enough. Quest and achievement wise, the new Varrock card task set is now correctly marked as complete in Tiny Zima's pocket book. Straven will no longer get his dates mixed up during Dimension of Disaster. Players can no longer spawn multiple animated books by searching the bookcase whilst in combat with another animated book within the new Varrock thing. Fair enough. An incorrect agility requirement reference has been removed from the Grand Tree quest journal. Players now require a pouch to trade with Lord Amloth in order to complete the hard Tyranna task set. Thank you, dear. Koshed thieving targets now count towards pickpocket challenges correctly. Righto. Moving on to miscellaneous, an option to disable PvP XP has been added to the combat settings interface. Dying whilst under the effect of the immortality ability while playing as another NPC such as Arav in the Dimension of Disaster will no longer remove the NPC override upon revival. The magic ability chain will no longer aggravate more than one Glaker. Players can no longer teleport from inside the Rise of the Six well entrance, as this was causing some camera issues. Some typos and incorrect pieces of information has been fixed in various boss learn interfaces. Blood necklaces will no longer interrupt single way PvP. Replenishment potions may now be consumed for their super restore effect whilst adrenaline and spec attack is at its maximum, or when the adrenaline pot prevention debuff is in effect. Players will no longer be skulled when their aggressive familiars are provoked in PvP. A non-multi-way tile in the Dark Warriors Fortress has now been fixed. The Sarcophagus and the Caridian Knights music tracks have been reworked. The various quest complete jingles have been updated. Simona will no longer be referred to as him. Simona's still a bloke. Players will no longer be directed to the wrong Slayer Masters when getting tips on their special Slayer tasks. The eat option has been changed to drink for various beers and spirits in the bank interface. The correct crops will now show in a basket when filling it out from the bank interface. The correct boss will now be mentioned when replying to Chaos Elemental's kills. The correct boss will now be mentioned when replying to Chaos Elemental kills quick chat messages. A type has been fixed with Withian's Enhancer exchange. Bone Crushers will now crush Pyramid Plunder Mummy Bones. Using the boost option on your skill cape no longer causes it to be unequipped when a player's stats are lowered. It is no longer possible to place duplicate Dominion markers. Some typos have been fixed in the upgrades and extras interface. The Staff of Darkness cooldown is now cleared when entering a duel or dying. Staff of Darkness. The buff timer for weapon poison will now persist through logouts. The Amulet of Zealots now works correctly with the Leech melee strength curse. A typo has been fixed in the Pulse Core buff tooltip. Voiceover has been added to Saren and the Elf City Memorial Crystals. Last but not least, we have Line Ninja Fix. The female Retro Slayer skill cape now has textures. Probably a good thing. Players can now change their skill cape appearances at Thok and the Master Crafter. Players are now able to drag and reorder their bank tabs. The unneeded space at the bottom of the worn equipment section of the bank has been removed. Players can now add the magic watering can and magic secateurs to their tool belt. Happy days. The cleave ability's cooldown has been lowered to match the decimate ability. Players can now choose to show their clan citadel chat to all players or only to nearby players while speaking to the master guard within the citadel itself. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much it. So those are your updates. Those are the patches. I do believe that's everything. Rune Labs is still a thing, so if you do like to look at that stuff, it's there. Have a gander. Check on your own ideas. Jobs are good. And either way, that is pretty much it. So until next time, I'll catch you all later. Have a good one.